Good morning, class. Today's our 4 objective day. We're still in our small read this week. We're going to use the story that we learned yesterday, the fisherman and the kaha bird. Today we want to start on page 98. Page 98 is the section about asking and answering questions. In our story from yesterday as well as our story tomorrow, we're going to ask and answer questions to help us understand what we've read. It says when you read a story, you can ask questions before, during, and after you read to help you understand the story. As you read The Fisherman and the Kaha Bird, look for the answers to questions that you may have had about the story. Well, of course, during that story, I asked myself the question, will greed take over the man's heart? And I look back to text evidence from the past. Oh, he was very poor. Oh, he barely had enough to eat. Oh, 10,000 bags of gold. Oh, my goodness. Okay, you could see that greed was going to take over his heart. Asking and answering questions will help you as you read to understand what you've read. That's what the comprehension strategy is always for, comprehending, making sure we know what we read. We're going to take theme in another video. Let's move on. Talk about folk tales for a second. This story that we read about the kaha bird was a folk tale. Here are the key points for folk tales. Folk tales are usually based on traditions and beliefs of people. Okay, and obviously this was a story from another country, so their belief was that there was this magical bird that would bring them or help poor, needy people. Okay, usually these are based on teaching you a lesson. What did the fisherman learn? Well, obviously he learned not to be greedy. That greed can lead to destruction. And then the last one often uses animal characters to symbolize or represent human qualities. So the bird was very, very loving, very caring, and very generous in that story. One other thing about folktales is once in a while you have this symbolism. What's symbolism? Well, I can tell that the human quality symbolized in the kaha represents generosity. She tells the fisherman that she will bring him a large fish every single day. So symbolizing, showing you that that animal has that characteristic of a human being. Okay? Generosity. Let's take a look at our assignment for today. We got a tiger, we got a Brahmin, and we got a jackal. This is also a folk tale. The jackal said to the Brahma, I understand that you agreed to let the tiger free if the tiger agrees not to eat you. Okay, so you got this Brahmin who had captured a tiger. Now, a tiger would normally eat a Brahmin. A Brahmin's like maybe we would think about it like a big cow. Okay, you like juicy steak. Okay, you like ribs. Okay, so the tiger would obviously like those things too, and so he would eat the Brahmin, the big cow. He turned to the tiger, and I understand that as soon as you are free, you said that you would eat the Brahmin anyway. But I still can't understand this cage here. The tiger snarled impatiently. Foolish jackal, how many times do I have to explain it? He said. He walked into the cage and demonstrated how it worked. As soon as he was inside, the jackal closed the door behind him and locked him in. The jackal turned to the Brahmin. I think you should leave this cage closed, he said. Okay, so it was really hard for them to give us a big folktale in such a short amount, so I'm going to explain a little bit more. We had a tiger, we had a Brahmin, we had a jackal. The Brahmin had caught the tiger and then let him go. And before anything could happen, the jackal intercedes. Now, the jackal would be kind of like a fox, be kind of sly, would be very thoughtful, and use those thoughts to trick people. And so he says to the tiger, he says to the Brahmin, I understand that you're going to let the tiger free because the tiger promised not to eat you, okay? Then he turns to the tiger and he says, hey, tiger, I understand that you lied to the Brahmin and that you're going to eat him as soon as he lets you free. Now that you're free, you're about to eat this Brahmin, and the jackal's like, I don't get this cage. How does this cage work again? And so the tiger walks back into the cage, and the jackal locks him in. And the jackal turns to the Brahmin and says, hey, Brahmin, don't let him out again. Don't let him out again. He's only going to eat you. Okay? So hopefully you got a lesson out of that. How do you know this text is a folktale? I always have my book in front of me because all the answers can be found in what we learned in our story today. It's based on traditions or beliefs of people. I'm not really sure about the beliefs of these people here. It usually teaches a lesson. I could use that one here. It often uses animal characters to symbolize or represent human qualities. Definitely does that. We got this jackal in our story who's definitely got some human qualities of reasoning. If you said this and then you said this, that's reasoning. So how do you know this is folktale? I'm going to say this story teaches a lesson. Now, I'm not going to tell you what the lesson is here because I'm going to save that for the last one down at the bottom. So it teaches a lesson. That would make it a folktale. Number 2, what literary elements are included in the folktale? And the literary elements is usually the ones down here in your book, so it's symbolism. This story includes. See how we use the words from the question? This story includes symbolism. I'm going to check, make sure I spelled it right. It's right here in my book. Yep. Now, I was going to write there what some of the symbolism was, but save that for a third one. Choose a character. What quality do you think that character symbolizes? Okay. I'm going to, oops, sorry, just knocked the camera over. I'm going to choose the tiger. The tiger was a liar. I definitely spelled that one wrong. Liar. That should be an I-E-R. He was a liar. And what about the Brahmin? He was accustomed to trusting everyone. Even a tiger that was going to eat him up. So I picked 2. You could fit the jackal in here if you wanted to do a third one down here. What human characteristic did the jackal symbolize? All right, and the last question is on your own down here. It says, what lesson do you think this folktale teaches? What did you learn from this folktale? Maybe you wanted to, if you were pretending to be the Brahmin, what would you have learned? Maybe if you were pretending to be the jackal, what would you have learned? Okay? All right, guys, when you finish that one up, it goes back into your folder. Double check to make sure you put your name on this paper. I have mine on mine. Put yours on yours, and then back into your folder.